don't think we sat down like this, John, for a long time, just to have a chat about our areas of law, what we specialise in.
No, we're in so many different offices, we tend to go back and forth and we'll see each other's ships in the night a little bit, don't we, really?
Yeah, we do pass quite often.
I'll give you a smile and a wave as I'm going from one office to the other.
So how did you get into law, and what did you want to be a family lawyer when you started?
So law wasn't actually my first choice. When I was about 16, I was convinced I was going to be a Michelin star chef, and I loved cooking, and I grew up always helping my dad in the kitchen, and I tried it when I was at secondary school for work experience, and I hated it. It just really put me off. So when I was 16, I was like, I don't know what to do with my life now. And then I thought, I quite like law. I'm interested in that. I'll give it a go. And then A-level and university, and the rest kind of was history from there, really.
I knew I wanted to be a lawyer when I was 5, which is really young, because my mum was. So for some reason, I used to see her with all this paperwork and think, oh, that looks really interesting. She was actually working at home all the time and all hours when I was a child. But then when I was training, I really didn't think I wanted to go into wills, trusts and estate planning. I thought it sounded really boring. I was a 20-something, I'm going to be a corporate lawyer, this is what I'm going to do. And then within about 2 weeks, I absolutely loved it and realised it's so diverse. It's not just drafting wills, you're doing estate planning for clients, you're doing all sorts. And I realised that seeing clients face to face, helping clients at difficult times, and I realised how much I loved it.
So was your mum a wills and trust lawyer, whatever was she in?
No, she was conveyancing. Yeah, and I did do some training in conveyancing, and I love research and understanding and resolving, problem solving, and helping clients and families at difficult times. So what made you do family law?
My mum was actually a legal secretary in wills and trust department, but she had the days where you'd turn up to someone's house with a typewriter and you'd sort of write the will out there and then.
But my mum says she remembers those days as well. In those days, the conveyancer would also often do your house sale and then draft a will at the same time as well, which is scary from our perspective, knowing what the problems could have been. And she would do the same. She would use a typewriter.
I think it's changed so much now, hasn't it? That, like you said, there used to be, you'd have the one-man band lawyer and they would sort of cover everything. So they do the divorce, and they do the will, they do the conveyancing. Whereas now, I think, as laws evolve so much, you are finding people are more specialist in their areas. What
made you want to do family law? What do you like about it?
For me, I think I really like the idea of it. It's a people-based area. I love the idea of being involved in people's lives and helping support them. And it's difficult because you get the very best of the best and the worst of the worst. So I remember sitting in court next to someone who was told they were going to see their child for the first time in 6 months. I'm going to pick them up from school. And just the positivity and the energy that came off of them was amazing, and it's something that'll always stay with me. But I also like helping people plan for the future, which ties into what you do, I guess. Things like cohabitation agreements, prenuptial agreements. I like that because you're helping someone put in place policies if it does go wrong.
Yeah.
But actually, you're not planning for that. You're thinking, if just in case it's there.
I think as lawyers, we're taught to think, sounds awful, but worst case scenario, because we're taught to think about if something does go wrong, what can we do? That's really helpful, because I know that when I was getting married, I straight away needed to make a will, because I knew that was the time to do it. A lot of my friends at the time that get married were like, absolutely not. What's the point in making a will? I'm too young to die and all of that. But because I'd seen clients, unfortunately, something happen when they can be quite young, something quite sudden, I could see the negative side of things and see what happens when you don't make a will. So I did it quite early on. And then when we had children, that was really, really important for us, because obviously guardianship, who's going to look after them? What happens if something happens to both of them? Do we want them to inherit at 18? Do we want a slightly older age? Who's going to look after them? All of those things.
Yeah, so I don't think we thought about wills until we had children, actually. And I think you're right. All of a sudden, it just changes and you think, well, I have to now plan for the future.
Yeah.
Because I'm planning for someone else's future, not just my own. That was a real strange conversation to have, actually, because I remember my wife and I talking and saying, well, if something happens to one of us, who's going to look after the children? If something happens to both of us, who looks after the children? And now we've got it recorded in a will, and I think that was so key, because if we didn't have it and something does happen, hopefully not, we now know that the children have got certainty for the future.
It's such a difficult conversation to have as well. And I find sometimes clients are quite stumped when I ask them that. So they sometimes come in prepared thinking these are going to be my beneficiaries, or these are my executors that are going to deal with the estate administration. But they don't think about guardianship or if something happens to all of them. And it's a horrible conversation to have. But I always say to them, at least you're having the conversation. And the thing is, once you've done it, you can put it away for some time and not think about it. But if you don't do it and you haven't put something in place and something happened, it's a nightmare for the loved ones left behind. And I always think, to talk about funeral wishes as well, they're always only your wish, but put something in there if you can, because again, often it's not something we talk about. And when I'm dealing with grieving families, they often say, please say there's something in the will about what their funeral wishes were, because we did not talk about it and we don't know what they wanted to do. And again, because I'm a lawyer, I raised that with my husband at the time, and he was, I don't want to talk about this. Why are we talking about this? But obviously the reality of what we do and I did want to talk about it.